Hello, lovely people around the world. Welcome to GG on Life, a podcast where best friends unwind and share their Haitian American journey.
Hello, that's right. I'm Emaniece. With me is my ride or die, Fernande, and we're here to talk to you about everything from growing up in a Haitian household, Haitian community, to schools and all the other experiences that we've had in between.
So pull up a chair, call your own ride or die, grab a drink, let your hair down. See, I let my hair down today. And it's time for us ladies to unwind.
And that's right. Don't forget to hit the like button so you can follow us if you like the content.
And don't forget, subscribe if you can't get enough. Now, Emaniece, before we dive into today's topic, how was your week, girl? Queen, what's going on? How you doing?
From one queen to another, my week was fun. Just a lot going on. And what about you?
My week was pretty busy because it was Labor Day week. And I tell you what, it's been a busy week. I think only thing that was really interesting is Geraldo and my daughter Sapphire jumped out of an airplane, which I thought was the most exciting, courageous thing that I would never do in my life and do not ever want to do. But I enjoy watching everybody else do it. And they loved it and they felt exhilarated. So good for them. They came back in one piece and I'm happy. So I'm ready to continue.
Okay. So why wouldn't you want to do it? Just a quick prep. Why would you want to do it?
I don't, I'm afraid of heights and stuff like that does not enthuse me. I don't like to feel my heart go through my chest and up into
Mm-hmm.
my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've never liked it. My first roller coaster was at 10 and it was the worst experience of my life and I don't like it. I don't even like getting on the airplanes, but I do. I pray a lot, but I don't.
Okay.
It's not something I find enjoyable. I don't know. Other people do. But
Got it. Oh, wow.
so the topic of today, we are going to talk about today best friends and power dynamics, marriage, children, and different type of life events. And it's funny that this topic came to be a friend or an acquaintance of Geraldo's and I was asking about what is it about best friends and the power dynamics because they have a best friend and they wanted to understand how do we get through things? How do
Mhm.
we deal with things? And if we ever experience that and how we either what was our experiences? How did we relate to each other? How did we overcome if we did have anything, or what we did to basically continue and make us stronger as best friends within our relationship.
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty interesting and intense because I never thought of that, but I thought, okay, let's
Yeah.
put it out there. What you think?
Let's put it out there. And I think it's important that there's definitely friendship dynamic. And I think one of the dynamics, especially when you talk about marriage, there seemed to be a period where people who were friends from childhood or women who were friends from childhood, as life changes happen, they do tend to separate because, in all honesty and fairness, they have a family that they have to attend to and care for and whatever. So I think it's important. I guess I can say with our friendship, we started, as we mentioned before, in our teenage years. Then we both went our separate ways for a while. There was this gap for both of us for a while. And I think what really brought us closer was both of us moving to the DMV area at the same time. And we became each other's support. We became each other's rock because we had no one else. You know, that we were each other's family. And I
Sure.
think that then the, the love, the connection, the family dynamic, the friendship dynamic that we had between us.
So for everyone to know, we Eminice moved away to New York. I
Yes.
moved to Vegas,
To Las Vegas.
to Nevada,
Mhm.
and we lived our own lives, doing school, work, and what have you, just to get away from Miami at the time.
Yeah.
And at the time, if people don't know, Miami, we grew up in the 80s,
Mhm.
and in Miami during that time was major drugs and major gangs and
Yes.
cartel, and it was a lot going on, and we saw our community just go downhill. It started really going down here where we witnessed shootings, I
Sad.
mean, stabbing, cutting, just a
Yeah.
lot of violence, a lot of just bad stuff. Just and it was all
Drug related, women getting abused,
assaulted and yep,
assaulted, and so it was a lot going on in the community for our at that time for our
yeah,
age group.
right.
So we became like each other's outlet.
We were
Became
each
our
other's support
support.
and
Yeah.
we stuck together because we were like-minded in many ways. We both wanted to do better, get better, and educate ourselves. So we were
Mhm.
both in school. And we had a very small community of friends because of our surroundings and stuff. We had to really stick to each other. So, with that being said, Eminice went her way for school and stuff, and then I went my way. And
Mhm.
then eventually we both landed up in the Maryland, DC area because
Yeah,
of the fact we both visited and we both fell in love with the area. And we were like, okay, this feels like home. It really felt like
it
we were
did.
in a place that was safe. We
Mhm.
can prosper. We can be ourselves. And it just felt a better sense of community, although not just community, but acceptance.
Yeah.
I think that was important for both of us that we felt. And from that, we moved together within a week of each other. And you had just started dating Kenny at
Yeah.
the time.
Hold on. I was gonna go back and talk about
Okay.
when we first realized that we were, because I think we both moved in July. Because if I remember correctly, it was July,
Yeah.
uh, where I hadn't heard from you in quite some time.
Really?
Yeah, I was in New York. I was living in Queens in my apartment, and I remember because I had visited like maybe a couple of weeks prior into June, July, I visited a friend and then I came to the area and fell in love with it because it was clean. There was a lot of greeneries. And if some of you don't know, I'm a tree hugger. I love trees. You start talking about trees and I get all light up. But I love trees and I love the area because it had so many trees and it was so green and it was just so after visiting a friend, I went back to New York after that weekend and I gave my 2 weeks notice. After one visit to the DMV, I went back to New York and gave my 2 weeks notice. And it was around that period I had not heard from you in quite some time. I got this phone call and you were on the other end and we were talking. I think
Already had Sapphire.
yeah, I think you already had Sapphire.
Oh,
With
oh, with child I thought you meant pregnant.
No, not yeah, you had
Mm,
Sapphire. You had
yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah. Sapphire was probably about yeah. Because when I went to Vegas, I
and
went to
I didn't even know
Vegas.
you had Sapphire.
Oh, okay.
I
I
think
didn't
that's
even realize that at
yeah.
that time because I went to DC, fell in love with DC. That's when Sapphire's dad and I were like, okay, we're gonna make this work. And
Mhm,
I'm like, I love it and stuff. And then that's when I found out that I was
mhm.
pregnant during that time.
Yeah.
And then I said, "But no, I'm moving to DC
Mhm.
because I just fell in love with it." I did. I fell in love with the environment, everything. I didn't even realize that because there was so much going on.
Yeah, there was a lot going.
Because
I
I
think it's
remember
summer
in my
reading.
mind, our conversations, I still remember you being in the apartment, like you were with your at the time, or cousin, sorry. And then I remember you got your apartment and we talked about it. So I thought we talked about it.
Mm,
That's the thing. although our conversations, you were working a lot and going to school, and
Mhm.
then I was working and what have you. So that's why I thought you knew about that, but maybe not.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. I think I found out after Saki was born when we were having a conversation. And then you said, you called me and we were talking and I was asking about Mama Marie because I think Mama Marie was sick around that time. I don't know if she was ill.
Yeah, at
She
that
was,
time, that's when the Hurricane David, I
hmm
believe, happened, and she got a massive stroke
yes.
during that
So,
time. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, there was so much going on.
it was
That's
a
right.
lot going on. And then you said, "Oh, I'm gonna be moving to Maryland." And I was like, "Really?" And we talked about it. And I was like, "Really? I'm moving to Maryland." You
That's
like,
true.
you like, really? When are you moving to Maryland? And I'm like, I'm moving to Maryland on this date. And I can't remember if I moved first or if you moved first to Maryland.
I think you moved first to Maryland,
Okay.
or
I don't know.
I don't remember. I know
Which
it
one?
was in a week of each other. That's
Yeah,
what
it
I
was
do
within
know.
a week of each other. And then I moved to Maryland and I was with a friend that I stayed with her and her family for a short while before I got my own apartment. And you were
JR.
with
Yep, with Saf's dad. Yeah.
hmm
So, yeah, that's when we got engaged and stuff, but I was like, "Okay," I kept putting it off, and I
yeah,
get
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, yeah. But we moved in together and stuff, and I just loved it. I really did. I got a job. I got a whole bunch of jobs. I just loved it,
Yeah.
and I
I-
never wanted to leave, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I was fortunate when I decided to move to the area because when I worked in New York, I worked at Citibank at the time as a senior customer service rep, doing accounts and everything. And my manager, my area director at the time really liked me. She really liked me and she hated to see that I was leaving because when I went back and gave her my 2 weeks notice, she was like, "Oh no, we have to find you a job." And that's how I ended up because I was ready to leave without a job. I'm like, I don't care if I have a job. I'm coming. I'll find a job when I get here. And she was like, "Nope, I'm going to find you a job." And she found me a job at a Citibank branch as a customer service rep. And that's how it all started. And then we moved in together and it was like the best experience living with someone after having lived with someone before where a friend before in our kind of uh friendship went the other way because um things just wasn't what it was supposed to be. I felt, okay, there's certain value systems that weren't quite in line with my value system. And then I only wanted to be there for a short period of time. And this friend of ours, we were supposed to get a place together. And my intention was to be with, stay with her and her family for only 3 months. Then it turned out to be another 3 months because she couldn't get herself together to find a deposit to move into the apartment. And then I thought, you know what? I can't do this. And it was the time too, Kenny and I were dating. Yeah, Kenny and I were dating. And he was traveling different from New York to come and visit me. And then I'm living in this situation. I'm living in someone else's apartment. And then he would come and he would be sleeping on their couch kind of thing for a little while. And I'm like, this just doesn't seem right. So
Yeah.
I just had to go. So luckily they had a 1 bedroom apartment.
Mhm.
I had a 1 bedroom apartment that I stayed in for a while. And then when you decided
Yeah,
you
I did decide that. So I was staying with JR, Saf's dad and everything, and
mhm,
we were engaged
mhm,
until we didn't have the same value system, and I realized because he was also very immature when it came to money.
mhm,
And then I realized that's when all of that time I went to go visit mom's had a massive stroke and all of that. And I had
mhm,
to go take care of moms for a little bit. And I came back and I realized that he had wiped my bank account clean. And I was like, OMG. And I
Mm,
was the type of person, I don't care what you do. You could put me down. You could talk bad about me. I don't care because I feel that you're not my self worth,
mhm.
but don't mess with my security.
Yes.
When I feel insecure to a point that I don't know if I'm gonna be put out or something I'm threatened around me or my life's in danger or
Mhm.
something like that, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
So we split up and that's when I moved in and slept on your couch until we got an apartment together.
Yes, yes. I remember that, and it's funny
Yeah.
that you say that in terms of security because that's something that is so dear to me,
Yeah.
and I think part of it is because of our childhood, because of where we came from, because of the lack of security that we had felt, even though we had really strong parents, strong women raising us, when they had to go to work and other things, there was only so much that they could do. So security is also very something that's very high on my list in
Yep.
terms of financially. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I just need to have some money in the bank
And I need to know the bills are gonna be paid.
and knows that the bills are going to be paid. Absolutely. So,
That I don't know. That's but my thing is when you ask me, you don't realize like from the emotional abuse. I think my thing is I could put up with that
hmm
more so than I could put up with not knowing where I'm gonna lay my head.
hmm
I
it's,
don't know. I don't
but,
know if it's a woman thing, Haitian thing, or a combination of both or our
hmm
upbringing, but that security thing is everything to me.
but I think part of that could be because we saw a lot of people got put out in single parent.
Oh yeah.
People were being evicted. And that was not a good feeling to see families getting evicted because they couldn't pay their rent.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
all of their
very first.
clothes and furniture out and people picking over their stuff and
hmm
taking it.
hmm
I don't know. That's
Yes,
for a
trigger.
Haitian, that's so degrading and
Mm,
so
humiliate.
feels humiliated.
Yeah.
Yes, humiliating.
hmm
So, but I think that's why I guess maybe we both gravitated towards each other too at that point
hmm
because of the security factor
Yeah.
that we can support and we just knew we had each other's back.
I think we had the connection from the beginning, even though it started out like a little bit rocky because we didn't know. But I
Yeah.
think there was that connection because we both had admiration for each other
Yeah.
at a distance.
Yeah.
And ha- once we started hanging out together, it was like, oh, this person is down to earth. This person is genuine and that kind of thing. And for me, you became almost like a lifeline because, woo, my mom approved. So that means that if she approved, then everything's hey,
Mm.
because she was so used to picking my friends.
Look at you that way though. I just how did I look at you? I didn't look at you as an approval thing because even if my parents didn't approve, I didn't care about that. That was my
Yeah.
problem. I don't care about stuff like that. Yeah, because my parents didn't approve of JR. So my thing was, okay. So that's why I'm like, I didn't care about that. But I don't know. I just looked at you as we connected.
Yeah.
And I know that no matter what, you're there and vice versa, where I can't say that about everyone.
Yeah.
Even family, I can't say that.
Yeah.
You know what I
That
mean?
was the case for me too. Yeah, we did connect, but I think what I was saying is that the icing on the cake was the fact that my mother also liked you.
Yeah.
Also, because I was so used to her picking my friends or finding something why I shouldn't be friends with someone. The fact that she didn't have anything but nice things to say about you. And that was like, okay, that's icing on the
Yeah.
cake. Because that's one less thing I have to hear about when I got home. So yeah,
Yeah. My family just looked at you as being a part of the family, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
They did. It's okay. Where's my niece? You talk to her. How's she doing? It's my family's like that. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's how we talking about like the friendship. That's how in
Yeah.
terms of having dynamic. I don't know that I think we've always been happy for one another.
I know because I was so happy that you and Kenny met and
Hmm.
that you were happy,
Hmm.
and I don't know, it made me happy. It
Yeah.
made me happy that you were happy, and we just have fun together. Even though, like, at that time period, your relationship was flourishing,
Yeah.
my relationship was came to an end,
Hmm.
but I don't see a dynamic. I at least I don't know. I didn't see anything like that.
I didn't see that either. And I think, and I never saw that. And I can honestly
Yeah.
say that we never, even when we were like in our teens, when we would go out in the evening or you,
Yeah.
you attracted a lot of the guys. The guys loved you. That's true. The guys loved you. They loved you. They,
You attracted a lot of guys too, so we can't just say that because I okay, we could go back into the high school period and all of that stuff going on, okay?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
But I know that's another topic for another day. But
Another day.
yeah, don't believe her. She a lot of guys really liked her.
Mm.
And yes, they did. The only difference is you were a lot more strong-willed than although you may give yourself credit for,
Mhm,
but you did take a stance on many things,
mhm.
and your whole demeanor was attractive. Everything about you. You know how people used to say, I'm like, okay, what's that word sexy? I'm like, you don't have to dress sexy to be sexy.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's in the way you speak, it's in the
Mhm.
way you interact, it's in how just you present yourself to people. And you were sexy, elegant, but sexy.
Thank you. I guess I say
So,
the same thing about you, but we didn't have the dynamic. Oh,
right, we
you have
didn't.
some friends, like you go out with them, and if one is getting all the attention and it just sours the environment or the
Oh,
relationship because
yeah.
there's that jealousy and there's animosity out why you get all the attention or why don't I get the attention? How come it's not me kind of thing?
Yeah.
We never had that. It was always whenever we went out, even when we went out with our other girlfriends, the people that were in our group, it was never that. And if it were, we never felt that. And we hang out a lot with a lot of other people. We don't want to say their names because they didn't give us, we don't want to put them
Right,
out,
right.
but we hung out with a lot of, we hung out with a lot of people that we all had the similar value system.
Right.
Uh, we thought the same. So the dynamic of jealousy among friends, I never felt it
Me
among
either.
our friends. I never felt it. We were always very happy for the next person. If this person had a boyfriend, we were happy for them. You know what I mean? If they were
Right.
happy, if, whatever was going on in their life, we were there to help them through it and see them through it as opposed to throwing stones or making something worse than what it was.
I think we were all I don't know, we were strong in self.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? We were
Yes.
all very strong in self. And
Hmm.
I think our little group or what have you and the women, we believe it or not, we're all accomplished. So everybody went to college, everyone had careers, and
Multiple
we
degrees.
weren't right, but we weren't the type that thought a man made us.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't think none of us thought that. I think
Hmm.
all of us wanted the aspect of, okay, we want to have somebody, we
Yeah.
want to have a family, but we want to have the right person.
Hmm.
So that's why I was the type okay, I see you later because I'm not putting up with this because I don't know, we all had that strong sense of self that no
Hmm.
matter what, we're going to find them. We just waiting for Mr. Right to come down the street.
Yep. Remember, we used to say, like, when mommy would ask, oh, this person is talking to you, we like, no, he's not our cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. She used to love when we said that, not your cup of tea. You remember?
Yep.
No, cup of tea. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that we've had a pretty consistent
Yeah.
and steady friendship
Yeah.
from the time we became friends up until now. There's been no drama. There's been some disagreement, minor disagreement. And I'm not saying that it's perfect all the time because there's periods where we hadn't talked to each other in months, right? But
Right.
once we get back on that phone, it's like we never lost touch.
And we try to catch up of
Yeah, we try to.
everything going up.
Mhm. And it's never a time where if we didn't talk every day, because we both understood once we started having family and our family was priority, but we also understood our friendship as well. So if we didn't hear from each other, we didn't take it personal.
Right.
Whereas now you find some women dynamics in friendship, if you don't talk to them every day, then it's a problem. But they don't understand that you have other things that you might be dealing with that you may not be able to get on the phone all the time to talk to someone about current events when you're trying to survive. And that was never our issue. So I think that's one of the things I appreciate more than anything about our friendship is that regardless of what was going on in our life, we could pick up the phone at any time, any period. It could be a year, 2 years down the line, and we could still have a conversation like it was yesterday.
Sure. Sure. I
Mhm.
think the only dynamic for
Mhm.
me was the fact that I felt sad at times when we weren't together and I didn't experience the things with the girls and the kids and the
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
I think that part was like, man,
Mhm.
wow, I missed that. Or
Mhm.
they're growing up or they're not going to know me anymore. I think that part made me
Yeah.
sad
That's the
where,
oh God, it still makes me choke when people know I hate goodbyes. But when you moved to New Jersey after you got married, I think that's I had to prepare myself. Remember,
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
before you move, you need to tell me. I had to prepare myself for a whole almost a year, right? Because it was,
yeah.
yeah, I think it was
Yeah, it was,
yeah.
I planned it a year. Hmm.
I had to prepare myself. It still make me sad and choke me up right now just thinking about it because I couldn't. It was so hard to have you
Yeah,
move after having been so used to you being around, being here, being part of the girls' lives. And I understood that you had your own family and you had to, but that was, like you said, that was the part that I missed. Just like you felt like you would be missing out and with the
yeah,
girls, I felt like I missed out with Sapphire. I felt like I missed out a little bit with Mindy and things
yeah,
like that. But we still try to keep the connection.
yeah,
But that was like a very, whew, it was a very tough time.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
very tough time for me.
Well, you know what? Let's go back because I got to tell you one of the dynamics too that we both felt some type of way about
Hmm.
is when we got our apartment together and you and Kenny
Hmm.
got married.
Hmm.
And then Kenny was moving to the apartment. Remember, that's when Kenny
Yeah.
moved down from
Yeah.
New York
Yes.
after you guys got married.
It,
And I don't think you wanted me to move, but part
mhm.
of me was like, I got to move because they're starting their life. And how does that look? Your best friend and her family with you just got married in your family. And I was like, okay, that doesn't look right. That's not right because she got to start her family. And then I have to learn how to be on my own type thing.
Yeah.
But the funny thing, everybody, we only moved like 2 apartment buildings away.
It was. We're like, you have to be close. You have to be right there. I need to be able to come by and see you and know that you're okay. But that was another tough period because you were the familiarity, the
Yeah,
security that I always had. And the fact that you felt that you had to move out made me sad.
uh-uh,
But like she said, it was only 2 doors down the road, but
yeah,
it still didn't feel like you were
yeah.
in
But
the
your husband was there. Now you had a husband and you had a baby. We're like,
No,
okay.
I
But
know.
but you guys, we were always there. It
Yeah.
looked like we were always, okay, I'm there. I'm babysitting or the baby's there. Because even
And let me tell you guys, she was the best godmother any child, any friend could have asked for to be the godmother of their children. Because she would rock Kaya to sleep. She would play with her. How you doing, Gummy?
what Kaya, you had to be rough with Kaya. She just like you to
Like
shake her
around,
like
she
that.
like would take her little
Yeah.
and
But Kaya was a sweetheart.
all
Yep.
the time.
And Kaya was colicky. To
She
give you
was
a break, she was very colicky and you couldn't sleep. So but we did our due. We did our due. And they
and
turned
she
out
would
great.
be
Yeah.
my rock. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that I would say that would be if there was like a dynamic of
Yeah.
life events, those would be it. But there aren't many others that I can think about that would cause our friendship to diminish.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't realize those things were triggers. But I guess
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
goodbyes. I don't know why, but especially when someone is so close to me, I'm just like, okay, I just have to give myself some time to get used to the idea.
Yeah.
And I had to
And
get used to the idea.
but it's funny as we grow older too, I find myself like now I've been working on myself opening up to other people.
Mhm.
And I have friends, don't get me wrong. I have friends, but it's a difference. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
There are different levels of friendship that
Mhm.
you experience in your life. Now, for Emily's, it's my ride or die, period. She knows everything or what have you. We've talked about everything, including our private sex life. So that's our thing. But I cannot say that I have that type of relationship with other folks. I do have friendships and I do have relationships, but it's a different, and I'm very particular about what I talk and how I relate to a lot of people because of the
Yeah.
fact that you don't feel the same way because I know my ride or die, no matter what, there's no judgment. And she knows me. She knows she's that type of person or that they know the goodness in you. They know if you did something that, God forbid, we all have make mistakes that, okay, that's not your best self. You could do better than that. And it's not like a judgy thing, but it's more like holding you accountable, uplifting you. You got to be able to think of this. You got to be able to do that. You got to be, but in a loving way. And I
Mhm.
think we try to do that for each other. And I don't know. I think that's made us strong. That's made
Mhm.
us be prosperous. Honestly, I really think that. And anytime one of us learns something, we feel the need to share it with the other because
Yeah.
we just feel that I don't want to go through this and learn something without her. So we want to elevate each other. And I think that's the power of our friendship too, because a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
people don't think like we do.
Yeah.
We're like, come on, let's go.
Do
This
it.
is what I learned. Oh, look,
Mhm.
this is what I learned.
Mhm.
And anytime we learn something from work or school, we come and share it. And even with kids or whatever, we try our best. We collaborate so
I
much.
think we're good listeners with each other. And I'm just like you. I do have other friends. I have acquaintances. I have friends. I have people, but no one really makes me feel as comfortable to be able to spill my guts because me. I'm the type of person, if I have to withhold, if I can't be myself and be open with you, then we can't be friends.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when I'm into it, I'm into it. I give you all of me and I want you to experience all of me. I want to talk to you. I want to be authentic. I want to be honest. I want to be upfront. And I can do that with you without feeling that I'm going to be judged.
Yeah.
And I have a few other people that, again, sometimes you have to be selective about what you tell people depending on where they're coming from. Because some things, like you said earlier, might be triggers for them and they may not be ready for it. But anytime I feel, and that's how I go through, I feel energies of people and I can tell if I meet someone, if this is going to be someone that I can be freely myself with, or if I have to, they don't even have to open their mouth. I have the power. I can my totally open and
Yeah.
tell you that's in my girl. And I feel
Yeah.
like even if I came to you and say, Gami, even though I know you have values and everything else, and I say, girl, you know what? I think I killed somebody. I think you'll be like, girl, where do we bury the body?
I would. I would
And
because
that's how
I say to myself, they deserved it. If she did that, they deserve it. And I got her back. I told my kids though, I gotta tell on my kids, but with you, I know they deserve it. Because you wouldn't do that because I sincerely feel that.
yes, and that's how I feel in it. And I can't say that over the years that I found any other people. I I have other friends that I can have candid conversations with, but I'm not like I'm really not the small talk kind of person. So if I take time to like really talk to you, if I open up my heart to you, if I let my hair down and tell you all of this stuff, I don't want it to come back to me. I don't
Yeah.
want you to come back and say, oh, not that I told you, but I don't want you to use the information that you have about me against me, holding me
Yeah.
for ransom kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think as a result of that, just from our own upbringing, I think we've developed this really strong bond,
Yeah.
strong friendship, strong dynamic where we're not competing against each other. We
Mhm.
want the best always for one another. And yeah, I think our childhood experience kind of kept us in that vein. And
Yeah.
even the girls, they're like, "Oh God, we know when you get on the phone with Dom because concept went on." And they're like, "Mom, you sound like you're a high school, but teenage
Uh-huh.
high school, but gossiping." But we're not gossiping about anything. We're talking about life events. We're talking about each other, our experiences that we've gone through or what we're going through, the challenges that we're facing, whatever it may be. We don't get on the phone and talk about other women.
We do not. We're not gossipers.
We're
That's the
not.
thing. We
We're not. And I think I've always been that way because I remember when we lived in Sable Pond, there was always some stuff going on. And even when my mom would be sticking her head out to see what's going on or hear an argument,
yeah.
I'd be like, Mom, just close the door. And because it has nothing to do with you. And that's always been me. And I think what keeps us together and connects us is that we don't get on the phone and
No.
talk about other people or degrade other people.
Or wish them bad.
Yeah,
Never.
we might
Mm.
say like a few things. Oh, did you hear this happened to so and but it's not the center of our
Right.
conversation to be talking about other people's downfall. We talk about how can we grow?
Right.
What what can we do to affect change somewhere? How can we help somebody? How so I think that having that same mindset has helped us a lot
Yeah.
in where we are today, 40 some odd years later,
True.
having this type of friendship. And it's been
True.
steady and consistent.
True. But you know what? We did have a bad habit
What was that?
as teenagers. Our bad habit was when we saw something that didn't look good, like, okay, I get
The
my daughters
clothing.
hate, oh my God, my daughters hate that about us, about me, not us, but me, because when we saw something, if let's say we saw somebody back in the day pants were too short.
Mhm.
We gonna look at each other and said, "Now, he know he shouldn't be wearing them flooding pants. Look, he didn't put no lotion on his
So
legs.
flooded,
Look at it."
flooded, yeah.
And he wanna come over and say hi to us. Now, we were terrible.
Yeah, high rise.
Oh my
Now they call them what they call them. We used to call them flooded because they
right,
were shorter
right.
than the normal length. But yeah, we
On
we
men,
would say that.
yep, and
Yeah.
and I know that we were bad that way. I must say we were, 'cause I look back and say we were really we could
We were tough when it
we
came
oh my
to
women too. Come on, if a woman came out there with a bunch of rolls wearing something tight, we like, now she knows she should not be having that thing on her.
yeah, but we wouldn't talk about,
We
like,
wouldn't make them feel
gossip.
bad.
We
We
wouldn't
would
make
just
them
say it to
feel
us
bad
each
or
other. No.
gossip. We would just make a comment, and
Yeah.
there's a difference when
But
you
that's as teenagers do.
well, yeah, that's as teenagers. We don't do not that as women, and everybody's gonna
No, not
talk.
as women.
But in terms of like my one of my last job, where one of my colleagues, she got off on talking about other people.
I don't like that.
She got
That if that's all she do, yeah.
That's all she did was talk about gossip. And I guess I'm in the wrong because I entertained it, even though it made me feel terrible. I entertained it
Yeah.
and it would seep into my soul and I would just feel,
I agree.
yeah. And one of the things is like, oh, the different jobs that you've had to take, the career choices that you've had to take. And we've had to make some career choices because of our family.
Yeah.
But when you're in a position, because you're working with people and you feel like you have to not coddle, you have to not, I wouldn't even say allow them grace, but you have to put up with certain things.
You gotta put up. I agree. I agree.
You have to put up.
It's I don't know. It's a political thing that you just like, okay, I just want to go home. Let me
Mhm.
just whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
I find that a lot in work.
Mhm.
I agree with you. I find that a lot in work. And I remember telling one of my bosses, like, why do you stereotype? Why can we not do that, please? Can we
Mhm.
not? It used to make me feel so uncomfortable. And because you're in a job, you're in a situation, you're like, that's the boss. Okay. But yeah, it got to my soul too. I agree with
Mhm.
you.
So
So
speaking of that, so since having a family and we're talking about family and career, what job would you say that the career decisions that you had to make as a result of family? Did you have to feel like you had to take a certain position or take a certain job because you had a family?
mm, I think that's a very good question. Because I was a single mom for at least when my kids were young or Sapphire was young, I felt that the job that I had, I definitely had to take in a sense of, and it was, although I moved up the ladder, it was
Mhm.
an executive assistant. I started off as a receptionist, executive assistant, and working my way up through the company. And I think I took that job because of the fact that I was a single mom and I tried
Mhm.
my best. What job would be able to give me what I needed to make sure that I can provide for my daughter? Whether it be, and I was the type of mom that I wanted to always be there. I
Mhm.
wanted to always I always did homework with my kids. I wanted to have breakfast with them. I took them to school. I went on mostly every field trip.
Mhm.
I wanted to
Yeah.
always be there.
Mhm.
And that to me, that was my number one priority.
Mhm.
And I think because of the job situations I did that, and as my kids got older, although I took on more responsibility
Mhm.
within that company and went up the ladder, it got to be more stressful, it got
Yeah.
to be more demanding, and I found myself in a place where I don't want my kids to wind up in that situation,
Mhm.
but I found myself realizing how much I sacrificed, how much I gave the company, and how I lost so much of what I like to do and my values, putting things behind me and putting up with stuff for the sake of my children and for the sake of providing them with a better lifestyle, a better
Mhm.
life. And I think that broke me down in many ways. Because when I got to a point that I'm like, okay, I felt my nerves, I felt high anxiety. I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown. But that was also, too, when it came to a point, that's when my husband died.
Mm.
And then I felt all of the stress on me
Yeah.
to be mommy, daddy, take care of the house, take care of the school, the business within,
That
the
was a
home.
that
I really felt like I was gonna have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, because that was a tough one because you were commuting. You were commuting from Jersey to DC.
Yeah.
Was
And
it
I think
every day, or I can't remember
um
the extent, but I
well
know you were commuting.
they got to a point they wanted me to come in even more, but it was 2 to 3 times a week.
Mhm.
And I would do that, go and come back. And the round trip was like 4.5 hours
Mhm.
with a special needs child. And it got to be too much. I think it on my mental health, I think that it really took a toll on me. It really took a toll on me. I enjoyed what I did. However, I felt because of my situation and my stance with my family, the person or my supervisor at the time, I think they were so consumed in themselves, it wasn't a family friendly situation. To a
Mhm.
point it was, and I gotta say, because I wanted to work from home certain days, they allowed
Mhm.
that, and I'm grateful for that.
Mhm.
However, I think for me too, the part of I shoulda like, when Gary died, I really believe I shoulda took a year off.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
because you went
really
back
do.
to work fairly quickly.
Yeah, because I had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
What can I do? I'm like,
You
so
didn't have time to grieve. That's the
yeah,
thing. You didn't have time to grieve. And then you were put in the situation so unexpectedly. It came quick
yeah,
and you didn't have time to grieve. And I
no,
think that over time, with everything else that was going on, really took a toll, really took a toll.
yeah. But
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so would you say uh, out of those, like that job, because I also remember you had a situation when when before you moved from Vegas, where you took a job in Vegas, shortly after you had Sapphire. Do you remember that job? We talked about it one time. It was
Um,
one of those, because then when you came here, I think that job was, I don't know if it moved with you, because then you started working at the law firm where the athletes, where
yeah,
yeah,
Jordan. Yeah,
Michael was a client.
yeah. So when I left Vegas, okay. That job was an interesting job. Okay. Now, mind you, when I had that job, I had at least 4 years of college underneath my belt. So
Mhm.
very knowledgeable about everything and a lot of stuff that I was doing. However, when I went out west, I didn't realize how much of a minority I was because coming from Florida, we all minorities down. South Florida is the
Mhm.
Caribbean comparison to the rest of Florida, everyone.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how a minority I was until I moved out west, where I was classified as the black girl. And I was like, wow, this is really different. And I think one of the deciding factors for me, I took that job. I enjoyed it to a
Mhm.
certain bit because I utilized a lot of my skills. I got to meet a lot of people, and it was working at a country club. And it was a country club back in the day. And this was like in the early 90s,
90s, yeah.
right? The early 90s, where you had to have, in order to just join the club and attend the club, it was a $30,000 membership fee. So I liked the club. I got to meet a lot of people and do a lot of things. But at the time when I asked for a promotion,
Mhm.
the boss was like, who else is going to do her job? And I was like the receptionist, but I helped the comptroller. So I did a lot of her stuff, but it was like my first job, like out of college type thing.
Mhm.
And I remember him saying that, well, the comptroller fought for me. She's Fernand will be great with this. And he said, but who's gonna do that job? And that right there said, you find some effing body to do this job.
Mhm.
See ya, deuces. And
Deuces.
that's when I said, I'm out of there because I felt as though, but I didn't even have a job when I went to Maryland. But I felt as though that's when I went and JR and I made it work.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I really felt that, okay, because within 2-week period when I moved there, I landed the job at the law firm.
Yeah, because I remember us having a conversation because I think it was the time when you called to say that you were moving to Maryland. And I remember us being on the phone and having a conversation about the reality of being a Black person
Right.
because you had
Never had that.
that was never our, it was never a problem for us. We did, like you said, in the South where we were, where it was like a melting pot of all these different
Right.
Caribbean people. You never, even though you knew you were,
Right.
we
Uh,
never referred to ourselves as Black.
Never.
We never referred to ourselves as Black. We were from the Caribbean.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I didn't start referring to myself as Black until I moved to this area,
I agree.
to the
I agree.
DMV area. But back
I
in,
never saw myself as that. Yeah.
I
Although I
never,
knew I was Black, don't get me wrong,
yes, yes,
but we looked at Blacks as being Black Americans. We are
yes,
Haitian.
we're Haitian.
We didn't, when you say Black, we think, oh, they Black American. Okay.
Yeah,
They from like Georgia or
you
they
know,
grew
different
up, their
the
family.
US.
But if we refer to each other, we would say, oh, no, the Cuban or the Haitian or the
Or the
Jamaican
Jamaican, or
or
the
the,
one,
yeah,
the from St. Martin, or from St. Croix, or
right,
the Bahamian, or things like
right,
that. Never referred to us as a
right.
Black person. It
Now, if
was,
you want to
it,
describe us, we would say, oh,
yes,
she's dark or she's light or she's caramel or
yes,
she has more of the native complexion.
hmm,
Or we
yeah,
would say describe each other like hair texture
hmm,
or but never like, okay, black or white.
yeah. That was a new thing for me. There was
Yeah.
a lot of new things that I had to adjust to because of the area that we're in. And we'll get to that on another matter. But in terms of the job, things that you're having to do now that you have family, that if you thought about, would you have done it? Would you have done it
Yeah.
differently had you not had children to think about, to care for? And I guess I can say, I think the time where I felt like I had to take a job was after the 2008 crash. Because
Mm.
when I moved here, like I said, my area director vouched for me. I moved here with a job. I didn't have to go look for a job. And then I do feel though, when I started that job at Citibank, I felt like I needed to take that job because I moved from Miami to New York with this idea of going to school, to fashion school, and having this whole total different life. And it was a rude awakening for me, realizing that I couldn't get a job in the fashion industry unless I was working in the factory,
Oh my
starting out
God.
in the garment district. And
Mm.
in the back of my mind, I was like, there is no way I'm going to tell my family that I went to school and I ended up working in the factory, which is why I ended up having to go back to school. But luckily, before I even did that, luckily for me, I was, I found the job. I think I probably was in New York about 3 weeks into it, I found a job at Citibank as a teller. And then I got promoted fairly quickly to being like the merchant teller, which is a higher level than being a regular teller. Then I moved on to customer service and everything. And then by the time I moved here, I think it was fairly quick because I moved to New York in '89, and then by '92, so when I moved here, yeah, I was the operations manager at Citibank. So that was good. But I did feel though I had to leave that job because I had a child. Yeah, because I don't know if you remember one when I was pregnant, the ice storm, and I think you ran
Oh,
out
yeah.
pregnant with the ice storm, and
Yeah.
I was crawling on the floor to try to get to the bus because I was the operations manager, and I had to make sure that everybody had access to get into the space. And it was so icy coming out of our building because remember people were just slipping.
Yeah, it was ice storm after ice storm.
It was
Yep.
ice storm after ice storm, and I didn't want to have to fall on my stomach. I ended up having to crawl my way to the bus stop. Remember to catch the
Oh,
bus
yeah. I
to get
remember
to
that.
the to get to the red line. But after that, in that incident with the manager, because you don't remember the incident with the manager when I called you in tears, and it's just so funny how everything worked out. Not only did we move close to each other, we moved in together. We ended up working on the same street because, right,
That's true.
we were on the same block, 2 buildings away from one another.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then when I had that incident with the branch manager,
And
I
mind you,
told
Bill Clinton was in office. That's when
yeah,
we moved there. Bill
yeah,
Clinton had just got elected.
yeah, yeah. And I remember calling you and I was in tears. I was so upset and livid. You came out to console me. And I don't what was it? She was blaming me. You know how they throw you under the bus because you're something.
Yeah.
And I had this thing where if I'm so upset, I'm not gonna say anything to you because I didn't want to have to apologize to try to take something back if I said something in anger. So I would just let myself cool down, and then I would have a conversation as opposed to in whatever she did, whatever she did or said, whatever she said. I was so upset. And I remember you calming me down and okay, everything's gonna be fine. You remember that? You don't remember? You don't remember me calling?
Well, no, you call me all the time with because she was always doing something. She wasn't the best boss. And I just remember saying, I don't care. You're not going to work today. Just call them, tell her
Yeah,
before. And I don't remember the particular
yeah,
conversation because I remember we used to have several conversations about her
mhm,
and it was just not a pleasant situation. So I remember that, but I don't remember all the details for that particular
yeah.
one. But
So
you were upset with her a lot.
yeah, but that one, it was like she broke the camel's back. I was like, this is it. I can't do this because I felt like I was putting my life on the line and you
Yeah.
weren't even appreciating it. And
Yeah.
because I was on call for everything. If there was a robbery, I had to be there. And that was one of the times I was like, you know what? I have a baby. I can't be on somebody's call. The alarm goes off late at night. I had to be there. So that was the time that was like, I had to walk away. So after that incident with her, with the manager, ate my resignation.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I would say like my best job, I would have to say was with working with Discovery. It
I know
was
you really loved it there.
that place was the best. The only thing wrong with it and the reason I left is that they pigeonhole you when you get into
A
certain.
role.
I was in the finance department working corporate taxes, and they just wouldn't promote you. And they were very heavy on having higher level degrees because everybody that worked in the finance department had multiple masters and whatever else. And although I loved the job, the thing that made me leave was because my manager, even though I was doing the job, refused to promote me because I didn't have a master's degree. Even though I was
Mm.
doing the job, I just didn't have the title. But other than that, it was, and I would say the job that I left last year was probably the worst experience I've ever had in my life. The worst experience. And people like the worst experience I've ever had in my life working in a place where there's so many of us working there, so many of us working there. And I had somebody's telling me that I didn't pass a paper bag test to be promoted and things like that. All of this nonsense. But anyway, it's behind me now and I'm going to focus on that. That's for another time. So I
Well,
guess,
but I don't know if I ever told you this. I was overlooked for a promotion for a director's position at the company
mhm.
because of the fact that I wanted to work from home to take
Mm.
care of my kids.
Oh, wow.
They said in order for you to get that promotion or to have that role,
Hmm.
you have to be in the office more.
I remember we having that. I
Yeah.
remember we having that conversation.
Yeah. And it dawned on me, I'm like, okay, so be it. I was fine because to me, what am I going to remember?
Yeah.
A director's role or my kids play or my
Yeah.
kids track me or being with them when they come home.
Mhm.
And I realized that's when I said, I told you that people think they can have it all.
Yeah.
I, I don't think you can have it all.
You
And I
can't.
don't think you really want it all because the older I get, the more I realize the most important things that I look back is our time together, like when we have fun, we share moments,
Mhm.
watching our kids do different things. And
Mhm.
as they grow older,
Mhm.
that camaraderie and that relationship of sharing and caring,
Mhm.
that is what I think about at night.
Yeah.
That is what I think about. Oh my gosh. And I realize that makes me happy.
Yeah. I agree. I think
So,
the best time for me has been because I gave it a try to be a stay-at-home mom when Kaya was how old she was, probably like a year old or 9
yeah.
months after I left Citibank. And I was like, this is not for me. Mm, because it was a lot of work. And I don't think people realize when you hear there's the conversation about being a stay-at-home mom, you think it's sexy or you think it's a lot of work. And you don't, mothers who stay at home to raise their families don't get enough credit. It's a lot of work. And that's why I had to run back to work. But I think that the one of the best moments for me was when we were able to, when I was able to finally try it again. We were in a better financial position in 2005. And we did that for a while. And the kids were, Kenny and I would take turns. Even you sometime would take turns to pick them up, depending on the situation. We were there. We were like, okay, we can take them to school. We can pick them up. We help them with homework. We do the field trip. And I was that mom in that school down the road and trying to join these different activities and be the only mother of color in these groups and people just blank you because they don't think that you have anything to bring to the table. But I would say the best moment for me, looking back at it now, is when I was having, Kenny and I were having a conversation with Kaya and the girls. And they're like, we so appreciate that we were not latchkey kids. We so appreciate that you were there, that you attended, you made every field hockey sports event whenever possible. You were in the field trips you attended. And to me, that's priceless. That is part of the things when it happened. They say things happen when they're ready to happen. They were at that impressionable stage of their life and their school. I think my regret would be having to go back to work in 2013, where I didn't feel like I had that full time with Ayana
Yeah.
like I did with Kaya from the time she was in 5th grade to 12th grade when she went to college.
Right.
But it's like one of the best moments. And they too remind us of all the things that we did with them.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the memory like you do, but I had the privilege of having someone like you and kids to keep us, to let us know all the things that we did. So yeah,
Yes.
I would say in terms of career, where I had to go back, felt like I needed to go back to work, I would say was after the real estate crash, probably one of the worst times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I can
good things
understand
came out
that.
of it too. I love what I did. I love what I was doing. It's just the people that made it, the environment toxic.
Yeah.
And what I got out of it, I got my student loans paid off. 'Cause
There
I
you
public
go.
girl, I got my student loans paid off because I was a public servant for 10 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it worked out.
Yeah. I think the thing is too, though, where I work became toxic when the administration changed, and
Hmm.
you could tell everybody changed.
Hmm.
It was like when healthcare changed, it was, oh,
Yeah.
you could tell it got to be so competitive, so cutthroat, so just,
It was something new. It was something new
yeah,
that they didn't understand. And
yeah,
it was a paradigm shift
yeah,
in the
yeah,
environment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that definitely affected a lot of people,
Hmm.
a lot of people. But I gotta tell you, the best thing I did, quitting my job and just taking time off.
Hmm.
I don't know if I think I told you this, but when I quit my job too, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore because I felt my blood pressure going up. I just felt like it's time for me to move on.
Yeah,
This
we
is
had to
just not me. Yeah.
talk about it many times.
And so even with that, I felt the best thing I could have done was taken that sabbatical of just leaving the job and taking a
Hmm.
sabbatical for myself.
Hmm.
I felt that, and I recommend this to anyone, especially mothers, if you can do it, if because a lot of times I don't think people realize the mental toll it takes on you when you're in a stressful, demanding position and
Hmm.
you travel a lot for business or what have you.
Hmm.
That some people may think, oh, it's so glamorous. Oh, you get to do this and that. It's really not. The political bullshit that you have to put up with and the stress on understanding and maneuvering within the political realm of that particular setting, office, industry, whatever it may
Hmm.
be, takes a toll on you, especially if you're of color,
Yeah.
because we know we're the first person that they're going to let go.
Hmm.
We're the first person they're going to blame. We have
Hmm.
to speak up the loudest. We have to prove ourselves the most.
So,
And I I just feel that we're discounted on so many realms, and you feel you have to play the game if you're an immigrant too.
hmm.
And because we're women, no, you're supposed to just be quiet, just take it.
Hmm.
And I tell that wears on you so much that the emotions that go on within you on how do you deal with this and then how do you teach your girl something
Yeah.
and how do you prove yourself and you know it's wrong. You feel it in your soul.
Hmm.
And I don't know how to advise other women that go through that what they should do because every situation is different. How they deal with it, their family dynamics, their best friends. We have our support system of each other,
Hmm.
but a lot of people don't have that. And but I just think that they got to find a support mechanism because I think that's why people get sick sooner than they have to. And that's why they go through all of the crises that they go through because they don't have that sounding board. They don't have someone to uplift them, to encourage them, to just laugh.
Mhm.
And you know what I notice up here? People don't laugh. Like we grew up laughing. Like
We
people talk
did.
about Kamala. We laughed all
All
the
the
time.
no
Don't
matter
get me
what
wrong,
the
we
situation
cried, but
was,
we laughed.
we laughed.
We laughed at ourselves. And that kept us going.
Yes, it did. And I think that's one of the things, because I think our last conversation we talked about recognizing depression in our family, in our parents. And you never you now, for me, look, I can speak about me looking back now. I can say like maybe my mom was depressed, but I never, she expressed it in other ways.
Yeah.
Uh, He was depressed and then stressed with having to care for a family, not having a third grade education, not being able to really go after jobs that, well, but that was the immigrant story,
Yeah.
cheap
That
labor. That's the
yeah.
immigrant story of the cheap
Yeah.
labor, having to care for a family, not getting enough work and stuff like that. But and what kept us afloat really was those $50, 20, $25 boxes, like cans that people don't do. I don't know if you
Oh yeah.
those
Like
eso, susu.
okay.
We
Susu.
call it
Mhm.
susu, eso. That's what kept them going. That's how they were able to move around and do a lot of the things that they were able to do, because they would do eso hands, put
Yeah.
money together, pass it on, and things like that. But we didn't realize that our parents were depressed
Yeah.
because they were always laughing.
Yeah.
Things were, it's like, how could you be depressed when you're always laughing? But as you said, people do need to have a support system. But a lot of times, I would say we're fortunate because we've been friends
Yeah.
for a long time. Some people don't keep their friends for a long time. And some people
Yeah.
develop friendship later on in life or don't even have to, or in a situation where we're so suspicious of one another that we can't even enjoy each other's company. To be able,
I I think a lot of people don't know how to be friends.
yeah, I agree. I do agree. I do agree.
And they look at friendship differently. I
Mhm.
don't I think we cherish our friendship
Yeah.
and we nurture our friendship. And it's something we both want. Just like in a marriage, that
Mhm.
you have to cherish it, you gotta nurture it, and you can't take it for granted,
And
you
it's
know?
not perfect. And so that everybody out there understand, we're not trying to paint a picture of perfection
Yeah.
in our friendship. We're talking about our story, how we relate to each other,
Yeah.
and how we would hope and want that for other people. Because when you have an outlet, when you have a support system where you can go to someone and have a conversation and feel like you can have that conversation without judgment, that helps to relieve a lot of the stress that we're having to bottle up because we feel like nobody else understands what we're going through. So therefore, as a result, we're not communicating, we're not having conversations, we're not sharing because we're not given that space to be authentic with ourselves
Right.
because somebody's going to find fault in something that you do.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about, just finding a support system and outlet to be able to have those conversations to help with the mental strain that the jobs bring, the marriage brings, the children bring, the level of responsibilities bring or put on our plate every day and
Yeah.
what it does to our health.
And that as well as our upbringing adds another layer to it too,
Mm.
because we also put a lot of stress on ourselves of wanting to be the best,
Okay.
doing the best, and not just the best at work, but the best parent, the best mother, the best wife. And I think all of those stresses, because of our upbringing, I feel that sometimes we can be our worst enemies. and we try to keep each other balanced. I think that is one of the most important things about our relationship is how we keep each other balanced.
Mhm.
Even though we may venture off, or let's say we're unhappy in our relationships, we try to balance each other to understand the bigger
The
picture,
big picture.
what you need to do. Okay, you're unhappy because of the moment, because what you're going through.
Mhm.
Let's work out what you're feeling, what's going on,
Taking
how
a
you,
step back.
and I think that is our balance with each other,
Mhm.
because I think we both have gone that throughout many periods of our
Yeah.
lives
Yeah.
where we have to, like, okay, come on, let's take a step back. Let's look at
Mhm.
it from this. I got you. We can do this together. And I don't know. I think that made our relationship successful.
Yeah. And then I think part of the other thing too, when we're talking about friendship dynamic, when it comes to relationship, when it comes to marriage and everything, one of the things that I can honestly say, even when I would call you, let's say I called you and I complained about this, or I'm feeling this way and whatever with Kenny, you never, ever, you treat him like you don't know what's going on. You meet him where he is. You know what I mean? Make the fight between you and him. You take the conversation that we have, you evaluate, and there's no different treatment, no other way. And I think we do that with each other.
Yeah.
And we talked about it with in the first episode about the relationship when you feel like it's okay to say something. But you've never done that with Kenny. And I don't think it's because of the first experience that you had where with Pierre and I.
Yeah.
I just feel it's just like a genuine thing. And it's like I said, it's just been consistent in your treatment. And I think I did the same thing with you and Gary, even though
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he's your husband and I have to respect. And we have our conversation, but the conversation is between us. It's never about me going to him and saying, oh, it's because it's, I don't know if it's okay. I needed permission to say, hey,
Yeah.
but you always think about sometimes you can take something that's a mustard seed and then you make it into a
Right.
because of how we're feeling at that moment. We're just
Sure.
looking to vent. We're looking to vent.
Sure.
And sometimes people don't know how to separate that, whether it's in a
Yeah.
boyfriend,
They take it
yeah,
right.
they take it to the
Exactly.
next level, which then sours the relationship between you and that person's spouse. And it's just, I don't know if I have the right description for it, but I think that has been for us is that we respect each other's spaces.
Yeah.
We love each other. We know where we're coming from, but we don't jump the gun on certain things. You're not
Yeah.
calling somebody and like, you talk to Kenny, or I'll talk to Gary or Geraldo. Not that you ain't said anything about Geraldo, but if it was to that, it's not, oh, I'm going to call him and tell him, and he should be, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. Let's see that. Why are you feeling this way? What is it that this person is doing that's making you feel that way? What about
Right.
you that's making you feel that way?
Right.
And then you get to level off. You get to walk away and say, okay, that was a good conversation. She brought me around to think about it's not what that person is doing, but what are you doing to help
Right.
the situation
Right.
or not help the situation? So I think that's another reason why the dynamic has worked out well between us.
Yeah. That's interesting. Sapphire asked me, Mom, you should talk about why you're friends.
Why
And
would
yeah. And I'm thinking, for everything we talked about during this whole episode is why we're friends. And I don't think anything has changed from when we were teenagers
Mhm.
catching the public
Rotation
bus
us? Yeah.
to today. If anything, I think the years has strengthened our relationship and with our ups and downs, but to the core values, I don't think that's changed. I think we have grown to a sense of we've broadened our horizons.
Absolutely.
We have become more educated on not just ourselves, but other people, our surroundings,
Yeah.
and
Or
how
environment.
our environments of how it affected us. And we look at ourselves in an analytical way and we look at ways that we can improve. That's one thing that I think that we share that I don't know many other people that share that,
Mm-hmm.
but we look at aspects in our lives that's not working and we focus on it to improve it. And to me, that is commendable. That's growth, it's maturity, and in us becoming
Yeah.
women and womanhood or whatever you would, how you classify it, of looking at not just pointing the finger, but
What
what's my
role
part?
play? Yeah. What is
Right.
your role in this?
Because
How did it, you know?
and I think a lot of time it has a lot to do with we set the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking in our household, we have a lot to say with setting the stage. We are the part that bring people together.
Yeah.
We're the part that like, okay, we're going to be a family. We're going to laugh. We're going to joke. And to me, that's our number one job in a sense of you have to be what you want to attract in your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you want happiness, you want the family to be together, to laugh and joke, you have to show that. You have to encourage that. You have to be that's what you're about. And whatever you're about, the attraction, what did you used to say? The law of attraction, it will gravitate towards
Yeah.
you.
But
So
yeah,
I think all of that has a lot to do with our friendship and maintaining and growing.
yeah.
Oh,
I think it's interesting you say that because just as you were describing in the household, and even though the girls always commend Kenny and I on their upbringing, and Ayana was like, "Look, mom, I would choose you in many lifetime," and it just touched my heart.
but
Sometimes,
she always said that about you. That
yeah,
ever since she was a little one, she thinks you are
yeah,
the cat's meow.
yeah,
That's your ride or die there too. Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but it
The
always sticks in my mind with Ayana.
the one thing that I feel that I have missed out in the last 10 years of working this job, I think the job affected me so much because I was always go. I almost forgot how to have fun.
Mhm.
I became this robot. And I think in a way, okay, mommy's working in the last 10 years. Mommy's working. Mommy's doing this. And I won't say that I was always like that, but we had fun. We would just turn on the music and I like classical. They're like, oh my God, here go mom again. And we would just put on the music and we would dance and all of that. We did that. But I think the last 10 years of trying to stay afloat, not financially, but with this job, with the political aspect of the job, where it just sucked the life out of you. It just drains you of any sort of happiness because you're like, okay, you don't know if you're going in one day, if you're on the chopping block, because that
You're
was
second guessing you do.
everything that you do. You second guess everything. And I think as a result of that, I've allowed myself to just become so robotic where I've forgotten how to have fun with
Yeah.
the girls, where our conversation had become in a way a bit robotic, even though we have conversation, but it always almost always around something at the job or how to do this. It's the level of conversation just changed because it's like, oh, hi mom. I don't know. I don't even know how to
I kn
explain it.
let me see if I can explain for you because I think I know exactly what you mean. I do. You become to a point of and a lot of time, I think it has a lot to do with us. because of fitting in and the pressures of work. You want to think like work. You want to do
Yeah.
like work. You want to make sure you're doing
Everything.
it right.
Yes.
And then you take every aspect that you would do at work at home. Okay, I
Mhm.
got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this.
Yep.
Okay, did you do this first? Did you do that first? You
Mhm.
become so task oriented
Driven. Yeah.
and that you forget it's going to get done. So what? Is it
Yeah.
important?
Yeah.
So what? And believe me, I was like that. So I understand. And then you realize, okay, why am I running my household like my job? That's crap.
You're just having a conversation with people like you're having conversation at work because everything is like short sentences. Everything is sort to the point, and there's lack of feeling, lack of emotion.
Right.
Everything is
A lack of a
transactional,
connection.
a lack of
Right.
connection. And sometimes I feel like I have a bit of a connection gap with my girls. They love me and I love them and I know that. But in terms of our level of conversation, and they're young adults too, but in terms of our level of conversation, um, it's not like it's deep dive conversation. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you have that with the girls, with Sap and Nindy, but it's not like deep dive conversation where you like, yeah, every now and again we're like, oh, we have this conversation. But to me, sometimes it just feels like very robotic. And I feel like I play the role in that because I've allowed the job to make me feel so regimented, right? Everything is so regimented. Do you
Yeah.
get it?
No, I get it. I
Yeah,
totally get
everything is,
it because you got to do this. You got to say, this is what, this is
yeah,
instead of, so what? And
yeah.
I think, but I think it's the job, but I also think it's our way of trying to perfect.
Hmm. Exactly.
And I think that's where we have to let it go
Hmm.
because that's like our example of this is how you measure success. If you
Hmm.
do this way, this is the success end game. Whereas that doesn't transpose to home.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
And I learned that, I'm sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but I learned that's where we got to take our children for individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They're not for us to, they're individuals and we have to meet them where they want
Where
in
they,
the middle.
mhm.
And I think once you get to that spot, things will be better.
Yeah.
Things will get better because
Yeah.
then they'll realize there's only one mom in the entire world.
Yeah.
And they realize no matter who you meet or whatever you do, there's only one mom in the entire world that's there for you.
Yeah. And I know my girls love me. And I think where you say had to meet them in the middle, I think I had to do that with Kaya even. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, the way that my mom, your mom raised us, where we had to do certain things because this is just how it is. This is what you do. And you don't want to disappoint your elders because your elders are correct or right. But I would say my mom never really jumped into my relationship or conversation. And I think you have to allow them to be the adults that they are and see where they land. And if you put enough work into them, they might take a turn from you for a little bit, but they'll come back home.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom used to say that there's this Haitian saying where you ask the baby pig ask the mom, why your ears so long? And the metaphor is like, oh, when you get to this age, you
You'll
understand.
understand.
And I think that, and even watching Kaya now as a mom herself with a child with special needs and seeing the things that she's doing, the pivoting that she has to do to accommodate my granddaughter, it's just wow. They saw you do that with Nindy. And the difference is with Nindy's special need and Lior's special need is Lior, even though she has words, she's not able to fully articulate herself in terms of speaking in full sentences. And her concern is putting her in an environment where something happens to her where she can't say, Mom, this is what happened to me. And just seeing how her and Lee just pivot to homeschool, although having to homeschool and everything, it's just an amazing thing to see. So when we talk about, to get back to the conversation, so when we talk about things that as parents that we have to do, there's a lot of things that we have to do, but you don't even know. You don't even know that you're doing these things. I don't know if the girls remind you, oh, remember we used to do that. And the girls, Kaya and Yana, remind Kenny and I all the time, oh, remember? Like, damn, when did we ever find the time and the money and the energy to do all the things that we did? And we did a lot of it. So it's
Yeah.
just, ooh, it's just one of those things, those roles that you just have to play because that's the role you have to play.
Yeah.
That's the role you have to play.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, again, on the same subject matter, what would you say was one of your biggest life changing events?
My biggest life-changing event.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I think I had a few. I think the one thing is having Sapphire. That was a
Hmm.
life-changing event. I must say that. I think the second piece, life-changing event was burying a partner. Well, no matter how, let's say, how good or bad, like with Gary, he was emotionally abusive. I admit that. And, but I think he did the best he could with what he had and what have you. But I think the fact of losing that and realizing as you get older, your dependency and you feel as though, wow, everything that it affects you.
Yeah.
I think that affects me and it's only me now. It's wow. And I felt like an orphan because
Mhm.
before that I lost mom, dad, and I feel like I'm an orphan and now I lost my partner.
Yeah.
So I'm a true orphan type
Yeah.
thing. And it's, oh my gosh, everything's on me. I think that was life changing because I really had to come to reality of not so much love loss or any of that.
Mhm.
It wasn't that. It was it's an institution of dependency. And
Yeah.
that dependency was lost because even with a mother and a father, you have that love, but it's still a dependency that your security is, I got a mom. Your
Yeah.
security is, I got a dad.
Mhm.
And my next security is, okay, I have a husband, I have a partner. It may not be a perfect relationship, but
Yeah.
it's a partner.
Yeah.
And I think those two events really changed my whole outlook on life.
And
And
I would say that there were like, when Mama Marie passed away a while, but I think Gary and your dad was within around very close to one another.
no, I'll say probably within like maybe 5 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
5 years.
It just felt so close.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I could definitely understand that. And I guess I should say for me, I haven't lost a parent, knock on wood, parent yet, or a partner. But I would say the life changing event for me would probably be having Kaya, because that was life changing in a way that I almost lost my life to the point of feeling like I crossed over. And I try to tell people like of this experience. And I don't talk a lot about it because I think people sometimes aren't ready to hear about that type of experience where I really did feel like I crossed over. But just like hearing the voice when Kenny and I were dating that said that he was going to be my husband. And I remember um, laying in that hospital bed and seeing this light, right? Seeing the light. And I'm just talking in my mind, in my mind's eye, talking, saying, I'm not ready. I just had this baby. I haven't had a chance to hold her. I'm having this full conversation in my mind's eye that I'm not ready. I just have this baby. I'm fairly newly married. I don't want to leave my husband with this baby. And I think the fear of her, of that, having to be raised by another woman really as a stepmother because I had my experience with having step parents and I never wanted that. I would say that's one life changing,
Mhm.
big life experience. And then I would say the next, to that would be my kidnapping. That,
Forgot all about that.
yeah, that was life changing because I think it trust. I've had many.
That's when after that's when you moved to New York.
Yes, that's when I moved to New York.
It just came to me now because
Yeah,
we don't talk about that. I don't think we've ever really talked about that
I don't think
since.
we ever have. No, I don't think we've ever talked about the whole situation because it was
Not as not I don't think since you moved. Like when
when
you moved to New York, we talked about it.
when
You
it happened.
explained when it
Mhm.
happened, but mm-mm.
Yeah, I
Like
think
I think
really,
we talk about Pierre more than we talk about that situation.
yeah. In that situation, it's funny because when we were talking earlier about Pierre, and I'm like, Pierre, that was nothing. Pierre grabbing my arm was nothing in comparison with what I went through with Reginald. Yeah, that was nothing in compared to what I went through. We could table that for another time,
Yeah, oh yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
that was a big life changing experience for me because that experience caused along with other events, but that experience is what caused me to move to New York. So, yeah.
But it's funny though how life is, and I don't think people realize this. If you
Mhm,
trust and have faith in your goals and what you believe is right,
mhm.
and this may come out not, I don't know how else to say this, so please don't take this the wrong way.
Are you talking to me or talking?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
talking to you, my love.
okay.
Um, Sometimes you may think that things hit you or you go through something that's, and just for everyone, I'm just going to preface this of saying her situation was super traumatic for the entire family. And she almost lost her life during the situation. I'm saying with that situation and that drove you to go to a whole different place,
Mm,
which you found someone that was like so opposite, and the adoration that your husband Kenny has for you is night and day. And it's, let me preface it this way too. Nindy and I, which is Nindy's my youngest, had a conversation yesterday and it was
mm,
pretty profound. Yeah, it was pretty profound. And I told her about as she gets older, there's a lot of things I don't discuss with her
mhm,
because I don't feel she's in that mental maturity to understand. And the older you get, the more you can really realize that people are complex.
mhm. Ab
Just like you look at yourself and all of your experiences, you're meeting someone with a whole bunch of other experiences too. And it's you trying to connect. That is so flipping hard.
mhm.
And then to think you carry those experiences throughout life.
Yes,
And those experiences are the ones that drive your decision making.
absolutely.
And with that decision making, we have a little angel, we have a little devil. We all have good and bad. And it's the betterment of whatever that we see, we encounter, right? The betterment of, let's say, in a situation, your family could have been at stake besides your life.
Mhm.
You're going to do whatever it takes, even if it costs you your life for the betterment of the whole,
Yeah.
right? And I told Linda, you never know what you're going to do until you're in a situation and you look at everything. And all I'm saying is, with that situation, it allowed you to create something so beautiful, so wonderful, so nurturing. I can't say
Mhm.
that. And you created a legacy that's going to last for generations
Yeah.
through a negative experience.
I believe that. I mean, I am wholeheartedly believe that. And that's why I always say my ancestors, the universe saw all the things that I went through and they wanted to make that part of my life comfortable and easy. I'm not saying that it's always financially comfortable. I'm not saying that it's always easy but I don't have to worry about that, those things anymore. You know what I
Right. Right.
mean? And also, I'm at an age now, I'm not that 20-year-old. I'm not that person anymore. And even if Kenya and I weren't together, there will never be another time in this lifetime for me where I will allow that to happen in a relationship with anybody else. Right. So this is it. And maybe that's when we talked about the other day, would I get married again? I just, I wouldn't do it just because it's because you don't know who you're getting or what you're getting, and you have to learn somebody else. I'm in a state, and I think I've always been okay with myself, with
Yeah.
being by myself. As long as I have things to do, I'm okay. So it allows me to grow. And even when I think back on it, I had skills that I didn't even know I had. I'm like, oh, okay. When you sit back and think about it, wow, you really had to fight to be here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what it is? I don't know how to put this, but I think sometimes you look at yourself and not saying now back or like
Yeah.
this way back.
Yeah.
I never saw you the way you saw yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw you the way you saw yourself. And I always told you that.
Yeah.
And I tried to pressure that in your head because I think you see yourself, or you back then, not now, back then, as you didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
You felt like a little mouse, like somebody's always out to get you in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you didn't feel as confident in yourself.
Agree.
And I think that spilled over into other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas I I didn't see that in you. And that's because I wasn't in those moments where they wouldn't allow you to have a voice. But if that wasn't the case in those moments, because the spirit of Emanice is so much stronger than those little moments.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ate you up.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard for you to disassociate or to understand you weren't allowed at times
Mm-hmm.
to let that spirit shine
Yeah.
because of the repercussions, but that wasn't truly you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Because many times I think about, okay, if I wasn't repressed, would I be? Because even now, I think I'm fun. I think
You're fine.
I have lots of fun and I enjoy being around people, but I've always had this idea because I was so repressed that, oh, I'm an introvert and I'm this and I allowed those labels to make me who I am, as opposed to living in the spirit of who I am, of what my name is.
Oh, yeah.
And every now and again, they come out. You and Kenny always say that. You think of yourself as this way, but you're not. But
Yeah.
maybe that was my survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't say anything, then I wouldn't be seen. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be seen. Nobody would notice me. And when I tell people, not that I tell people, I don't walk around telling people, but I remember when I released my book um, in 2008, and we were having a book release party, and people who bought the book and read the book were like, "Oh my God, I would never know that you went through these things. And I'm like, I'm not walking around with a victim stamp on my forehead telling people that I've went through these experiences and I've had all of these experiences. But I think that's because of the spirit. Like you said, it's the spirit is love. I know I'm testing you. I'm putting you through all of this because I want to make sure that you're going to hold up to the name. Emaniec. It means something. It was given to me in a dream with a meaning. And I tell you, sometimes I'm like, God, I feel like I'm a damn cat with not a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a cat with
Wow.
9 lives because of all the things that I've been through. But I never make those things the center of my life. I
Right.
see them as experiences, as unfortunate as they may be, that I had to go through to get to this side. So even with, like you said, you connected what I went through with Reginald to having to move to New York to find someone or to be, even that is a kind of a bit of a mystery in itself, to meet someone who was completely opposite of what I went
Mhm.
with the second guy that I dated, that I can say, oh yeah, he was a partner in terms of having a relationship with someone who's like you've been with for a little bit. I just think it's all by design. Everything we go through is by design. And I try to tell the girls as well. Sometimes you go through some things, even with your situation with Gary, you went through that because it taught you like, look, I'm never going to put myself through that again. And it makes you stronger. It doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. And I think even with how you see, and you've always said that you see me differently than I see myself.
Yeah.
I've always seen myself as being passive, and Kenny be like, no, you're just
No.
passive. And
No.
you were like, no, you're not passive. And I think back on experiences where something's happened and I've stood up for somebody and I'm like, no, that's not an act of somebody who's passive. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But it took me years. It took you reinforcing that. It took Kenny telling me that I'm not passive. It took the girls looking at me like, yeah, mom, no, you think you're what you are, but you're not. Because I've lived in this identity that was created for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm thinking, had that identity had not been created for me, where would I be? But if we believe that our paths are set for us, set for us, then this is the path that I was supposed to go to. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come out at the end. And it's the same thing for you. You had to go through go through
Yeah.
what you had to go through to know sometimes we have to go through things that we don't like or don't want to know what we don't want.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we try to tell our girls, we try to tell other people, and you know what? They don't listen. It's not their path.
Exactly.
We could
Exactly.
we can share as much as our knowledge with them. We can tell them everything of what to do, what not to do. And I had to learn that. I think I having conversation with you about Sapphire coming out and having conversation just you know what? It's just that's their path. What are you
Right.
Your
Right.
experience is your experience, their experience is their experience. And we oftentimes as parents, we try to create many things. And I think part of that, even when I said, talk about the girls where I felt like over the 10 years of working at the job, part of that also was me realizing that I cannot make them many needs. And then
Yes.
you have to regroup. You have to regroup because everything that you're telling them, at least in my experience, everything I've been saying to them has been to mold them based on my experience. Having the conversation, sharing the knowledge, sharing the conversation. And then when you realize this is not your path, what else do you say? Where does the conversation go from there if you're not just talking about, okay, how was your day today? Because there's only so much of your own experience that you can tell someone or
Yep.
how
Yeah.
to be aware or this. There's only so much because if it's not their path, it's not their path. And I've had to learn that. And I learned that around the time of going through this job
Yeah.
period where everything is so regimented and also coming to the realization that what I want for my children and how I want to mold them or is not their path. And I can talk to them, I can tell them all these stories till I'm blue in the face. Not to say they're not listening, not to say that they're not taking it in, but the idea of I'm going to beat this knowledge down into you. I'm going to keep, it's just not them. And sometimes you just have to be quiet and still and just watch.
And my thing is too, I think there's a fine line
Hmm.
in my observation with a lot of folks in the world and stuff. And I don't want us to fall in that pattern
Hmm.
that we think that we have to go through a route of means, skills, or education, or this is a way for a means for happiness.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people think the financial aspect is happiness,
Yeah.
whereas it's not. The
It's the mean
connection,
end.
it's a means to an end.
Mhm.
However, we got to nurture what's the joy and fulfillment within. And I think that's the connection. And I've learned that. I've learned that
Mhm.
with me. What makes me happy? And it's the connection, it's
Yeah.
connections. It's like little things that I tell you, like I go in the garden. I could be in the garden for 12 hours straight
Wow.
and not even realize and just come back and like
Refresh.
refresh you and you don't feel stressed. You feel like, wow. And so my
Mhm.
thing is, and don't get me wrong, financial means a lot,
Mhm.
getting their skills and what have you. But my thing is, if we can balance
Mhm.
of your love, what you cherish, your passion, what brings you joy with the financial aspect,
Mhm.
that's a home run.
Yeah.
But I think that's the part that we gotta, I don't know. I've always been a soul connection. I try to look at the person's spirit because a lot of times the physical aspects and the mental aspects drive decisions.
Mhm.
But what's the spirit? Like I remember I remember us having conversations. I remember telling you, whatever happens is not you. It's
Mhm.
not your spirit. It's something you've gone through, but you don't judge yourself by an
Mhm.
experience you went through.
Yes.
That's not your spirit.
It's not. Yeah. I agree. Because when one of the shows I was watching, who I learned to watch before, and you and she talked about where you are not your experience. Same ways. And that I had to take in and understand because I didn't understand that. Even though you would say it, and it's like, okay, I understand it now because I link it to people thinking that their jobs make them
This is their
title
job.
or their worth. And your title is only a small piece of that. At the end of the day, when you are on your deathbed, people are not going to remember you were this executive, vice president. What they will remember is what kind of person were you?
Yeah.
Were you, did we talk about leaving the world better than how we found it?
Yeah.
making a person feel better than how they woke up this morning. And I think it's here in this. I don't find it anywhere else. I think it's in this culture because I don't. It's even in the Haitian culture. Oh, if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're this, if you're a lawyer. So we grew up hearing that, and but there's a different level to it. I think more so if you are a doctor and a lawyer, they know that these people make enough money, then you'll be able to take care of the family. You'll be able to help take care of the family. Whereas I find here where it's a little bit more incestuous in a way, where people feel like their title is all of what they are. And someone said to me,
Oh, yeah, in DC for sure.
yeah. And someone said, you know what? The Haitian community, there could be a celebrity that walked in the room, except that I did that with Wycliffe when I saw him. So when I saw him in Baltimore for the first time in person, I was out there. But if you think about it, for the most part, we don't idolize other people. We're like, okay, you did that. Great. Good for you. At the end of the day, you're still human. There's still a spirit behind this person. So who are you really?
Yeah.
And even when we go to functions, people are like, they're so starved and hungry to know what you do. What's your title? Not because they're interested in you as a person. They're interested in knowing what can you do for me?
Yep.
What can I get you? I want to make sure I have this connection because if I need something, I need to be able to call you. But you're not interested in me. And
You're
it's
you're
just,
only interested in what I can bring and how I make you
yeah.
look and how and I'm like, "You know what? I'm so over that crap."
And that's why the connection is lost. That's why the
Yeah,
connection is lost. That's why we can't have deep and meaningful conversation about
exactly.
things that does not revolve around a title, a job
Yeah.
title. And people like to have, I don't know, what is it called?
Small talk or
Small talk. Excuse me.
yeah,
Having small talk all the time because the substance is not there. And that's why I enjoy talking to you, where we
yeah,
could talk for hours upon hours, and we're touching on every subject matter in the world, even if it makes us uncomfortable,
yeah,
because we're not having small talk about nothing. And that's, I know it's a necessary evil depending on where you are and what you have to do. But I always say, I'm like, I don't do, I do
yeah,
better if I can talk to you
right,
about other issues that's affecting our community, the world, and just having a varied conversation. I'm not my job title.
right.
When I leave that job, I'm supposed to be something else. And I think in this society, they make you feel like if you don't have this particular title, if you're not this, if you're not that, then you're nothing or you're not interesting or you
Right.
so
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where we got lost. That's where people
Yeah.
got lost.
I agree. I agree.
Everybody wants to be a celebrity because the celebrities get the look and the whatever. But what about your core? What's in your core? What are those core values? What makes you excited about
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
And the whole thing about being financially sound. No, I'm the happiest when I know, okay, I have some money in the bank where I can pay my bills. It may not be a lot, but if I have that sense of security, like we
Yeah.
talked about earlier, I feel like, okay, I have a sense of security and I'm happy. That's what makes me happy because I'm like, ooh, let me go outside. Let me get some sun. I can enjoy myself. I can take a walk. But if I'm like, I don't have that security, then I feel like, okay, I need to do what I need to do to
Right.
feel in that situation. And that's not a good situation for anybody because you lose out. You miss
Yeah.
out. And then we get to the FOMO part of life because you feel like you're missing out so much, either in your family's life, even for me, missing out some with the grandkids and stuff. Because I feel like I'm always working. I want to get to a point where I don't want to be behind a computer working. I want to be somewhere in the island at the beach enjoying my grandchildren. But at the moment, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
One have to beget the other.
Yeah. I hear you. Oh my gosh, we talked about a lot of things today.
Yes,
I tell you.
absolutely.
Wow.
It's always good conversation. It's
It's
always good.
always good. And you know what? It always feels enlightening. Afterwards, we feel enlightened. It's okay. I wish other people can do that because I'm saying not everyone can have that and do that
Mhm.
and be that. And I think once you do that, you
But
feel
like,
like you feel that's what life is about.
yeah, that's what's life about. But I also think that you have to put in the work too.
Yeah,
People have to put
I
in
agree.
people know, you know how to say, I don't know if your parents used to say that, but my mom used to say it's good to have at least one quality or two quality friends than to have a whole bunch of people that you saying or just who have become acquaintances really, because you don't really have anything in common except for the fact that you know them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So,
My
uh,
parents used to say the same thing.
yeah, and people aren't willing to put in the work as much as before. Back to when our parents, the community raised the kids because we were friends, we could do this and we could do and now no, you can't do it.
That's true. That's true. Mm, incredible. I think, and this is another time though, community. The the community or lack thereof community or different type of community,
Mhm.
I think should be something to talk about of how you want your community because I think people are searching for that dream that they forget about community.
Mhm.
And when you lose that community, I don't know, it's hard to stand on anything because you can't stand on stuff being at work as your community.
You yeah,
Mm.
community. I think that's important. I think it might be making a comeback.
Make a comeback.
Yeah, a lot of things are gonna be making comeback because we realize the stuff that we're chasing ain't chasing us.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Darling, I think we've had a lot of conversations today.
Yes, we did.
I think we had some good conversations, as
Yeah,
always. I don't know. I think maybe until next time, maybe we might have to close this episode out.
I agree.
You agree?
Until
I tell
next
you.
time, we'll figure out what we're gonna talk.
Yeah, most definitely. But like we said in the beginning, don't forget to hit that like button if you're loving the content, or as they say, that subscribe button if you what can't get enough.
You can't get it.
Enough.
You go ahead, girl. You've got this.
Girl, I must tell you, you are my ride or die. And as always, I gotta tell you, as always, you help me be a better person. And I love you for that.
And I love you too.
So
Keeping me
to
grounded.
everyone,
For continuing to reminding me I see myself differently than the actual person that I am.
yeah,
And that I appreciate.
oh,
Because it makes me think. I'm like, okay, she doesn't seem this way. So why do I?
yeah. Or your husband, he doesn't see it that way either. He
Yeah.
sleeps right next to you. So
Yeah.
there's two of us.
Yeah.
Until
All
next
right.
time, we're gonna say bye, lovely
Goodbye, everyone.
people.
Bye.
Later.
Till next time.